have something very interesting I'd like to share. I noticed as I was looking through Google about the old St. Thomas ghost town that was in Lake Mead. As you can see where the water level is at this point right now, right here where I'm moving the hand. And all the way up here where St. Thomas, the ghost town, is. The interesting story about this St. Thomas ghost town was founded in 1865, which was a thriving Mormon settlement. It had farms, a school, hotel, grocery store, post office, even had an ice cream parlor. And in 1930-31, when they built Hoover Dam, the water started backing up pretty quickly every winter as the rains came on. And between 1935 and 1938, the water started rising to the point to where St. Thomas was actually starting to go underwater. 1938, it was completely covered. So all the people were paid to relocate to go somewhere else. Their homes and properties were bought out. And the last guy that left there left in 1938. So I've noticed recently that there were people that have gone out there and done videos to explore St. Thomas. And you can look and still see signs of the city here. See the outlines of the buildings and the streets that surrounded, that traveled around through it. You can also see where the ravines would wash down through the valleys during flash floods and how all the sediment's building up in here. So what I'd like to point out now is the water level was actually 60 feet over the top of this town here at the peak, whenever the reservoir fully filled up. And it currently now, over the last few years, and I'm going to show you a timeline that in December of 2020, the water is way back here. This is where the water is in 2020, December. It's receded considerably more than that since then. And we're going to take a drive there and try to determine where it's at now. But you can see way back here, if you can see my little hand, this is where the water level is supposed to be. And it followed this around to where that water actually came back up in here. And this is all dried out. Everything is dried out. So I'm going to show you in a timeline, just keeping in mind that this right here is the St. Thomas ghost town, where the water level is here. And I'm going to show you a timeline as we go backwards. In 2017, there wasn't a lot of change. But going back, you see the water starting to move backwards now in 2014. In 2013, it's all the way back near the town. So it lost a lot of water. It shows you as this narrow area will fill up a lot faster, which also means it'll drain a lot faster. So going on to the next timeline back in July of, okay, it looked like it decreased a little bit in July of 2011. In August of 2010, the water was actually right up at, actually past, you could see the water back in here of the old ghost town. Then the next one back is 2008, not much change. 2006. You can see though the water is higher up on the banks and going farther back in here too. See how far we have to go back to cover city again. Okay, in 2004, July of 2004, the water went way back and the city was well covered. So it lost a lot of water over the next year. So 2004 is 18 years ago. So in 18 years, the water has receded all the way back. Again, like I say, the farthest we go up is December of 2020. But anyhow, it's kind of hard for you to get a feeling of how far that is unless I pull a distance, and we're going to go in miles because it's considerable distance. So from the city here, right, the point of the city, well, we'll go as a crow flies. As a crow flies, it's 3.12 miles to the water edge. It's over 3 miles from the city to where the water level was in 2020. That's a huge amount of water loss. The other thing I'd like to point out, get rid of this, I like to point out the color change in the water. All of this light colors you see here is the sediment that has washed down over the years. So in the discussions you hear about the amount of water that's in Lake Mead right now, you have to take into account the millions of acre feet of sediment that has washed in here as well. This is only the stuff that's very easily seen. And as you can see at the city, whenever I was there at the old ghost town, you can see how badly these things all drain the sand and sediment into the cities. So this is only looking at two little spots where you have all the flash floods that come throughout every time there's a big rain event there, you get flash flooding, and it brings a lot of sediment and debris with it as it's flowing down. So all these areas, all these tributaries that are feeding in are bringing sediment. So this was probably considerably deeper here in the past, but because of all the sediment that's washed in, it's taken that level down. Now all the fines, again, you see how high the water level is supposed to be, which is like 80 feet down to this. And the sediment, as time goes on, as it's flowing into Lake Mead, it has to go, it can potentially go well into the lake area before it starts settling out, depending on how fast the water's running. And look at all these areas, all these ravines and crevices that are bringing sediment into it. I think I heard there was somewhere between 5 and 6 million cubic yards of sediment that has been deposited in there. So if you convert cubic yards to acre feet of water, that tells you how much water is lost. But we're going to take a drive to Colville Bay, how much the water has receded in those areas. Colville Bay is unusable anymore. And again, this picture is from 2020. So the water has receded more since then. So this launch, I'm reasonably sure, is no longer usable in the water. And we're going to look at that, check it out. So potentially they're able to use this one, but I don't know that either. We're going to take a look at that. Okay, starting from town, from Las Vegas, it's a dirt road. You've got to drive out here. It's about an hour drive, so we think. So our next stop is going to be coming into Echo Bay. And if you look at Echo Bay, right now I don't know if it's usable, if you can even use any of this, but this launch ramp here was added whenever the water receded to the point that they couldn't use the primary launch ramp over here anymore. It went out of the water. So they built this road coming around here. And in the beginning, they were able to launch right in here. I'm going to show you that with the timeline. But that eventually came out of the water too, so they built it on farther down here to this one. But I understand you can no longer launch boats there anymore either. So I'm going to show you timeline to this, because this is all normally underwater. It should be underwater. All this area here would be underwater. You can see where the outer edges are. This is a very deep cove. So in timeline, I'm going to go back right in this general area here is where they made the first alternate bypass ramp. In 2013, this hadn't been extended yet. This is all because you see it's still underwater here. But this is where they were using this first bypass ramp, the first alternate ramp. You can see people were driving out in here to go fishing, but I mean, this was probably a tough area to get through. It depended on the time of year, probably. But no ramp at that point. You could just pull back in here and maybe fish or whatever. 2006, this was all, you can see a boat actually going out through here. So this was all this was well underwater. So there's been drastic changes just from 2006. And if you notice right over here, I'm going to guess it's all shut down. I mean, what else is there out here? See, there's nobody parking anywhere out in the parking lots here. And the boat ramp is completely out of water. This first alternate here is totally out of water. And this one here we'll have to determine when we go there to see if you can actually launch a boat there. Okay, for now, that's all I'm going to share with you. This is really trying to show you how severe, what a bad condition Lake Mead's in. Okay, thank you for watching.